maybe a little bumpy, but you should be able to stay control of the car. The worst thing you can do is keep it planted and go into the grass full throttle. It's impossible to control at that point, and you're probably going to spin across the track. The other thing I will say about turn 4, where it gets tricky, if you're on your own, it really shouldn't be that tricky. It can get tricky if you're too wide with someone. So if there is somebody on your inside here, let's see, far chase. If somebody, like, you're passing someone, and so you get a better run coming out of the carousel, and you're alongside someone and you're too wide, it can get really tight right here at the apex. The outside car could come down because they realize they've got to apex this to be aimed at the board, and they could come down and hip check you or push you into this very, very violent curbing here that will bounce your car and probably wreck you. Or if you're the outside car, the inside car could not leave. They're going to be coming on a more narrow line, and which means they're going to end up further on the left side of the track anyway. And if you're trying to go toe to toe with them, you guys could door, and the outside car could just get pushed way out into the weeds. My advice would be live to fight another day. If somebody's alongside you or you're alongside someone, lift. Let them take it if it looks like they're not going to lift. Be the chicken, so to speak, in the game of chicken. Because if neither of you guys blink or flinch, it can end in tears very quickly. So that's where this corner really people get into trouble, is trying to take it too wide, especially if you've never done it before. It may not be a bad idea to go practice and try to displace this apex as though there was a car there to see what it feels like. So the first time you do it is not when you're too wide in a race. You can do that and put yourself in scenarios to see what it would look like from a sight picture going up over the hill like that. All right, but let's just say we made it through there just fine, and we're headed over into Charlotte's Web, which is turn 5. Turn 5 is the tightest corner on the track. It's also straight downhill in the braking zone. So the braking zone actually starts on the tabletop and then transitions downhill, which means we have okay braking on the tabletop and then really bad braking going down. At the same time, it's straight downhill off camber when we're trying to trail brake into the tightest corner. Meaning the car really does not want to turn. It's designed that way. So it's designed to eat that front right tire. My braking point is the 3 board, effectively. I was going a little bit deeper on this particular race because I was trying to chase these guys down, so I was trying to drive pretty hard. But between the 2 and the 3 is going to be safer. If you get all the way down to the 2, you're probably going to go through the corner or lock up and get into the gravel pit. So between 3 and 2, closer to 3 preferably. The ideal line is this wide line, so you're all the way on track right to open the corner up as much as possible. And my thought process is you can treat it as either a double apex corner or you can treat it as a single very late apex corner. I do both depending on how the car feels and the tires and the track. Let's see what I did on this particular lap. I think I took it as a single apex. Don't mind the car behind. Yeah, so my single apex is way around here, past the flag stand, as we're coming back over the hill, accelerating out. So, again, braking at the 2 board, start my turn in pretty much halfway down the curbing here, but I'm not looking at this curbing, I'm looking over here at the apex point. And the idea behind this is I want to take a nice wide angle on the entry, because as I said before in the handling dynamics, the Cup car is really good at accelerating out of corners. So I want to get the car rotated early and position myself where I can get on throttle as soon as possible to power myself out of this corner. So nice wide entry, very late apex, and come and accelerate out of the corner on my way out. If you do it right, I tend to end up on a normal lap. I tend to end up about mid-track. I don't tend to go all the way out here. And those are the ones that I get my best runs are coming about mid-track out here. And the only way you get to mid-track is if you're apexing somewhere around here. On this particular one, I apexed a little bit early. I like to have the car apex somewhere around here on the way out. But I think Lenny behind me caused me to turn it a little earlier than I wanted to. So if we look at it actually from Lenny's point of view, because it looks like Lenny took a shallower corner. So he's turned in, and he's turning in much earlier. So you see how late I am compared to where he is? That's great on the entry into the corner. So he's putting all of his effort in the entry, maybe to try to get by me. But he has to effectively, like at this point, I've already turned around the corner effectively, and I'm going to start accelerating. He has to still stop his car on the way down after he's turned in, and he's doing the single apex 1 and then another apex 2. When we get to this point where he's still rotating the car, I'm accelerating out. And so the gap between the two cars is going to start to increase a little bit because of my ability to get on throttle a little bit sooner. So, and there's a little bit of Constantina where we're both braking, so the cars are getting closer to each other. But coming out of the corner, it's going to go back, if not more, because of the early throttle that I'm able to get to coming out of the corner. Lenny, if you're in here, just using you as an example, you did nothing wrong. You made me actually modify my line because I saw you coming. So good. He's not here though. Oh, he's not here. Okay, so there you go. All right. So if we go through Charlotte's Web and we come into what's called Museum or the Corkscrew, one of the most unique corners in all of North America. It is not easy. The general idea for the Corkscrew is it's all on braking. We're going to have 3 separate braking zones for this corner. Braking zone 1 is going to be from the initial braking point to the first curbing on the right. Braking zone 2 is going to be between the 2 curbings in a straight line. And then the final braking zone is going to be after the left-hand curbing on the way down at the final part of the Corkscrew. So what does that look like? Well, here we go. We're going to brake at the 2 board, turn in at the 1 board, and we are looking for this curbing on the inside. We want our right side tires to kiss the curbing on the inside. And then as we touch that curbing, we're off the pedals because, again, cars don't like to do 2 things at once. They don't like to brake and turn. So we want to use all the grip in the tires for lateral grip, not braking and sacrificing lateral grip. The car will bump over depending on how much of the curbing you take. And then when we land on the back side of the curbing, here's the straight line between the 2 curbings. This is your second brake zone between these 2 curbings. You can see I'm back on the brake pedal. A little bit of a brake to slow the car down a little bit more, stabilize it on the way in. And then we're going to hit the second curb. As we hit the second curb, we're going to kind of breathe off the brake a little bit. We're not going to come fully off of it because we still need to slow the car down. And then when we land on the backside, we have a little bit more opportunity to brake as we're turning the car in. So putting that weight on the front tires to get that car to do the final turn. If you see, we're going straight downhill, so the car really doesn't want to turn much in the initial input. Our right side tires, we want to touch this curbing because it is elevated. So actually touching that curbing helps rotate the car on the right. So I like to touch that curbing pretty severely. It helps rotate the car. As we hit that curbing, like any curbing, we're off the pedals because we need lateral grip from the bumps. And then when we land on the back end of it, we can accelerate out of the corner in second gear. So coming back to show what that looks like without me stopping it. Brake at the 2. Turn in, off the brakes, start bleeding off the brakes, back on the brakes, little bit off the brakes, back on the brakes, off the brakes, land on the back end, and start accelerating out. Tons of time can be made through this section of corner, through these corners. And so I'll actually show it another way as well, if I can do it relatively simply. Let's see here. Do that. Add group static. We're going to fly. Oh, so p-value. Okay, so going to go all the way down. Straight down. 90 degrees. Straight up. Why are you not? I had a better idea when I was doing it normally. Take out the zoom.
Here's a quick one, Chris. Put it to chopper.
Chopper? Oh, okay.
Make the Z5000.
Z5000.
Yeah, just remove the period.
Oh, okay.
it maxes out at 1,000, but that's the quickest. You gotta hit play, otherwise it.
Oh. Well, I had a grand design to show you what it actually looked like, but no biggie.
It moved cameras again.
Oh, it did. Okay. Well, whatever. The idea is still there. Look at a track map so you can see what it actually looks like at Barber through those corners, and you'll definitely see that distinct line right here between these two corners to be able to brake on the way through. Any question about Charlotte's Web or the Corkscrew / Museum? No? Okay, we'll continue on. All right, so after we make it through there, we come to my least favorite corner, which is the chicane. It's a very fast left-right-hander. I was noticing I was taking it very differently than everybody else. So your mileage may vary. This is not, whatever I say is not gospel. It's whatever is most comfortable for you. I'm just telling you what is most comfortable for me. I don't like curbing when I am going very fast because I don't like how the bumps can unsettle the car. I rather a stable car rather than a bouncy car. Some people love curbing, like Rafaela Amarim, who loves to take and kill curbs. But he somehow is comfortable with the bumping of the car and is able to control it. I can't do what he does. Two very different ways to handle certain corners, and this is no exception. So on this particular left-hander, going into the S's, my goal is to have a very clean entry and then use the curbing on the exit to get my maximum run out. So a lot of people will clobber this left curbing to open up the right-hand corner. I don't like to do that. So I like to keep it clean, don't get up on this curbing. And then when I transition between the corners, I'll touch this curbing just barely to help give me a little bit of rotation and open the corner on the left side. When you run off, you can put 2 in the grass. If you put 2 in the grass, it will slow you down a little bit, like I did here, but you'll still be okay. So long as you keep your right side tires on the right side of the white line, it's not a 1X. If you get on this white line, you are going to pick up a 1X. Not to mention, if you're touched in the grass with your left side tires and you have any steering angle in the car, it'll be unstable. So if you're going to touch the grass, just make it a nibble like this. Don't like go into it really hard. Ideally, you don't want to get in the grass. You just want left side tires right on the curbing. But if I take it back and show again what I'm looking at, you can do this 2 different ways. I've tried it multiple ways. You can get through this corner by just lifting and then getting back on the throttle and not touching the brake. I like a little bit of brake halfway through. So right here, brake on the transition, because of what we talked about earlier, we're taking the car and we're putting the weight on the front tires, and that will help the car turn. So my brake is not necessarily to slow the car down. It's just to get enough grip on the front tires to make that quick transition to the right. And then I'm off the brake after I've done the transition and back on the throttle. All right, coming into tunnel, which is what this is called because there's a tunnel that goes underneath this next set of turns. We got some great markers over on the right that we can use for the turn down in. I brake out just after the 2-board right there. Relatively firm brake. Eyes are up. I'm looking for this curbing. I want to take my left side tires and just touch the curbing on the entry. And I want to keep the car at mid track or further left to set up for the right-hander up the hill. The right-hander up the hill is the corner that is important. This left-hander down the hill is not important whatsoever. As we go up the right-hander, we're going up a hill, so we have a lot of good compression on the initial entry, so a lot of grip for turn-in. But then that all disappears as we're coming out of the corner. And if we get to the crest of the hill and we have any steering angle in the car is going to really try to oversteer because we're going to lose all the grip that we've got and we're putting all the power down. So the rear tires have a tendency to spin on the way up the hill as we crest the hill. If you have too much throttle or your steering angle, you have any steering angle, those rear tires will light up and you will get oversteer. And if you're not ready for it, it can catch you out. So just be ready for it. It's completely blind. So brake after the 2-board, come on in. Left side tires are going to be on this curbing like this, as close as we can get to it. We don't want to get too much on it because too much, it'll bounce the car, in my opinion, too much, and it'll put you further out to the right than you expected. On the way down into the hill, we're going to brake again into this compression. It's There's two reasons for that. One is to slow the car down a little bit, and two, to set the weight on the nose for better turn in. And then as we turn in, we're going to get off the brake, and we're going to roll the momentum and start accelerating and use all of this inside curbing. We want to apex this inside curbing and keep our right side tires all the way to basically this point where the curbing meets the grass and the track. Our goal is to get as close to that as we can. On this particular one, I missed it a little bit. And you'll see what happens if you miss that little point right here and you come off of it early. Your car is going to be going way too far out to the left, and you're going to run a risk of going too far wide. You can see right here as the car jumps over the corner, my car starts to get oversteer. So you can actually see the back of my car is already starting to oversteer, and you can see my steering angle of actually counter steering on the way over the car or over the hill to keep the car straight. Once the car is under control and you're on the back side of the hill, we're going to immediately transition to a downhill right-hander that is very, very fast. We should be able to just give it a little bit of a chicken lift, or maybe a full-on lift, apexing all the way in, effectively touching the grass with the right side tires, and then just rolling our momentum up this hill. The transition between this second to last corner after this fast right-hander is very difficult. There's no brake markers. You can't see anything. It's difficult to know where to brake. What you want to do is you want to keep the car on the right side of the track so you minimize the distance traveled. And you're going to want to brake as you see the pit entry walls. So as you're coming up, you're looking up way up here in the right side or where the track is going. And you're going to want to start braking for the final corner as you start to see, get in the cockpit, as you start to see these walls over here. It also happens as the track starts to flatten out at the top. So when I hit the brakes, it's right here. As you start to see additional track, so the actual track, you're cresting the hill. Once you start to get to the top of the crest of the hill, that's when you can start feeding on some brake to slow the car down for this right-hander. We don't want to brake down here because that's too early. We're not going to take enough. We're not far enough down the track. We're going to overslow the car too fast. And we don't want to brake out here because we're way too late. Oh, when I say out here, we don't want to brake anywhere out here because we're going to be staying in the car on its nose. And we're not going to be able to get down to the corner in time. Think of this right-hand section of this track as a exercise in keeping the balance of the car. We're not attacking the corner. We're kind of rolling the speed up, getting the car nice and settled as we come over the crest to take this right-hander. This right-hander right here is a setup corner. It means nothing. The whole point of it is to set up for the final corner to go down the straightaway. What I mean by that, as we go through here and we start having a little bit of brake pedal, when we're off the brakes and we get the car all the way down on the curbing, the whole point of that corner is to get the car into this position for the final corner. So we set up the final corner. Whatever we have to do to get the car in this position is the best situation because we're leading onto a straightaway, which makes it important. The final corner is a lift, maybe a touch of brake depending on the wear of the tire, but I tend to just lift in third gear through here. So lift, and then as we come down the hill's going to grab us, give us a ton of grip, and we can accelerate out and give us a good run down the straight. So one thing I wanted to show real quick is on this right-hander coming down the hill, look how little I actually do anything with the pedals. So I'm off, coasting, 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 a little bit of brake, 20-30% brake, off the brake, coast, coast, a little bit of throttle, full throttle between the transition, off the throttle, start feeling the throttle, and then back on the throttle. Look how little I brake through that entire section. I was mostly coasting, if anything. The 911 Cup does not mind coasting. Don't feel like you have to do stuff with your pedals. Coasting means you're allowing the car to use all of its grip for lateral G's. If you're braking or you're accelerating, you're taking away lateral grip in the car. So coasting allows the car to turn at its greatest value. So coasting is not bad in the Cup car.
Chris, going back a couple of corners,
Sure.
what gear were you in, especially coming up the hill and then over the hill? Is that a third or fourth?
Yeah, I'm in third. So coming into this section, I'm in. Well, let's just make sure. Let me go to the cockpit. So I'm in fifth. Brake. I should grab fourth. There's fourth. On the way down the hill. Third. Rolling third up the hill. And then I should grab fourth at the top. So third, fourth. And then I coast fourth through here. And I coast fourth all the way up the hill on the right-hander until this final break. I'll downshift to third, then down to second. On the way in through this one, I'll accelerate through here, and then I should grab third right here, third, and then take third through this corner.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any other questions before I show it without starting and stop at full speed? Okay, here we go. This is what it's going to look like without me constantly talking over, or without me starting and stopping it, so you get an idea of speed. Coming down the front straight, we're going to brake just at the two board, brake, fourth gear. This one I went to third gear, but I like fourth better later. Rolling the speed through here, accelerate as the car starts to dip in. Look for the pylon, drive to the pylon up the hill. Move the car to the right, brake just after the three board, brake. Late apex, super late apex, that's all that matters here. Late. There, we accelerate coming out of the corner, opening our hands as we accelerate to allow more grip in the car for acceleration. We're going to brake at the two board, and we're going to brake, lift, brake, lift, brake, land, accelerate coming out. Run down to the little chicane, turn in, dab of the brake, and then back on throttle. Let the car run out, even if it touches the grass, it's okay. Brake just after the two board. Don't go past mid-track. Right there, brake, turn in, off the brakes, roll the speed, accelerate, counter steer. Fourth gear, now just roll the momentum. Wait on it, brake. Down to second gear, keep it tight. Full throttle, off, upshift third, and then back on it. Nice run through the final corner. So that was a 25-2. So not too bad, I think, and that's on full fuel. I mean, that was early on in the race, so relatively full fuel. The thing I noticed on the Cup car is the fastest laps do tend to come at the beginning. So probably in the first 8 laps, I'd say, is when the car is the fastest in terms of grip. Then you'll start to lose a little bit for tire deg, and then it will just kind of flatten out at that point. And then in particular, in terms of tire use and everything, I was okay at Barber. I actually thought the tires were going to wear more at this place, but they didn't. I think I was in the 70% grip level or tread depth still when I finished after an hour of racing, which actually kind of surprised me. So you shouldn't need tires at the stop. Just remember that this particular car does not do tires and fuel simultaneously. So if you are taking tires, you are giving time to the field because it will fill the car up with fuel first, and then it will do a tire change, which if competitors aren't doing tire changes, they will come out quicker than you. So keep that in mind as you race. All right, any questions? Anything at all? It could be about the Cup car, it could be about Barber. All right, hearing none. Well, I think there's an EDE coming up if it hasn't started already. So if you want some more practice in one of the EDE type atmospheres, go look for it. And I think they do it. Joachim, remind me, do they do it in hosted or do they do it in the main league? Or I don't know how it's totally set up, but it's out there. Take a look. There's probably people already in the EDE channel, so you can ask them as well. But with that, that's it. Feel free to stick around for a little bit. I'll answer any questions anybody has if you don't want to ask it in front of the class. But for that, that's the first classroom for Season 12. I may not be here for for the next one, which is Brand's Hatch. I may get somebody else to handle it, but it should be in a couple of weeks on a Monday at the same time. Good luck in your races. I hope everybody does well. Just remember, don't get discouraged. It's a long season. Even if you don't have the performance that you want to have in the beginning, you can always make it up. As a reminder, well, not as a reminder, but as an example, I won the championship last year in the pro class. My average finish for all the races was P9. So I got average 9th place every single race in the series and won the championship. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So just keep that in mind. Don't give up, keep going, and you can be successful too. All right, with that, I will say adieu and goodbye. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in a few weeks.